Sleep right, up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles, got a stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode live from the First Star Logistics studio. For another episode of State of the Jungle presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Malik Wright. Joined back with the boys. We got Evan McPhillips. We got Logan Fulmer. Last time the three of us were together, we were in Indy at the Combine. We had a great time. We had Coach Kyle Kasky on, and we talked about all things Cincinnati Bengals. I'm absolutely pumped up, guys. I can't lie. I'm pumped up because, as a lot of my followers say, it's Malik season. It's upon us. It's time to start dropping the gift bombs. It's time to start breaking some NFL news, but we're going to keep it with the Cincinnati Bengals. But I do want to tell you guys, next week, live from the First Star Logistics studio, we will be hosting 5 days of NFL free agency, where I'll be sitting right here in this spot for 5 days straight, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we'll be talking about all the latest news and rumors and things that I'm hearing, and I'll be quenching you guys' thirst. I'll be talking with you guys, letting you guys know what I'm hearing. I'm locked and loaded. I'm pumped up. And this year, Evan, this year, Logan, this year, Daniel, I promise I won't have my phone on Do Not Disturb when one of my sources calls me and gives me some big news, because that happened maybe once or twice. I learned. So, but in all seriousness, really, really hope that you guys are excited to join us on this journey. But boys, how we doing, Evan? How we doing?
Doing good, man. Happy to be here. Happy to be back. It's been a little bit. Obviously, we met together in Indy for the Combine, but just happy to be back in the studio talking ball with you guys.
What about you, Luke?
Man, obviously everybody loves the NFL season, but I love the NFL offseason. Just I mean, probably more than most people out there. I love the free agency, the draft.
Yeah.
We're right in the thick of it. You know, can't ask for a better time. I'm ready to roll.
We got somebody in the comment section say, who they from Brazil? We appreciate you so much for supporting us and watching live from Brazil. You guys got a champion over there by the name of Alex Pereira, who's going to knock out Israel Adesanya, but that's a different topic for a different day. We want to keep the conversation flowing. There are a lot of questions, right? There are a lot of questions. I put a tweet out the other day that said, and I quote, the Bengals understand that they're in their Super Bowl window, and the Bengals know that they have to do everything in their power to maximize their Super Bowl window. Yes, I know a thing or two. It's a sticky situation because, you know, you're followed by people, and there are things that you just can't say the way you want to say because out of respect for the situation, you don't know if conversations were had and things of that nature. But trust me, you see a lot of people out there with mock drafts, and they're doing all this, these off-season projections and breakdowns and talking about players they should cut and do all this kind of stuff. Trust me, the Bengals are smart. The Bengals understand what's in front of them. The Bengals know what they have to do. I promise you this offseason will be like no other. I promise you that. So hold on to your seats and get your popcorn ready, because I do expect the Bengals to be players in free agency. I expect the Bengals to do un-Bengal-like things. They understand. Listen, they got a taste of the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They were in the AFC Championship last year. So now it's clear they have to do something that's going to take their roster over the top. Now, does that mean go out there and be reckless with cap? No, that does not mean that. Does that mean go out there and sign Mike McGlinchey and Mike Gesicki? And no, it does not mean those things. I know Evan feels how he feels about those things, and we disagree wholeheartedly. Does that mean they go out there and draft Darnell Washington? Do you guys remember a couple of years ago I said, I stood on this ground, I said, I am willing to bet the Bengals. I said I will bet my entire reputation. The Bengals have no intentions on drafting Kyle Pitts. I remember all the Bengals fans were coming out with their mock drafts saying, Kyle Pitts has to be the guy. I'll make you a prediction. I guarantee you the Bengals do not draft Darnell Washington. I guarantee you the Bengals do not draft Darnell Washington. Take that for what you will. My track record speaks for itself, but I'm here to tell you right now, the Bengals will not draft Darnell Washington. They want complete projects, or closest thing to complete projects at the tight end position. They are not in a position now to where they can go out there and they can go pick up a guy like Darnell Washington in the draft, because he is a project. I understand people are oohing and wowing about how he tested like a freak at the Combine, but understand something. Production still matters. Still matters. And he does not have that going for him, if you will. There are other tight ends like Michael Mayer that does have that going for them. And I'm telling you right now, if he's there at 28, everybody's like, oh, a tight end shouldn't be the pick in the first round. Should it not? The last 2 years, the Bengals have been filling around with the tight end position. CJ Uzomah, right? They've been fiddling around with the tight end position. CJ Uzama. Then they had Hayden Hurst. Then they're throwing Joe Burrow in the AFC Championship is throwing a Mitchell Wilcox. You have to have an answer for it. I'll tell you something else. And I'm on a fire right now. These boys haven't got a chance to talk. I do not expect Hayden Hurst back in Cincinnati. I don't. Spoke to somebody close to him, and I said this at the NFL Combine as well. They're preparing as if Hayden Hurst is going to be on his fourth team. That's the thought process. This is a deep tight end class. Unless he's being brought back for the low, the guy had a great season. He had a great season. Some team is going to pay him
more than us.
More than us. Especially with it being a deep tight end class. So there you have it. I've talked a lot. I'm handing the keys off to Evan.
Wow. What was the question, Teach? Because
should the Bengals go all in free agency? I didn't even answer the question, but I did start off with a bang because I promised you guys fireworks, and I believe in giving fireworks.
Well, I guess all in. Yeah, like you said, it doesn't mean going into free agency and spending every dollar that you can till you're up against the cap. It doesn't mean just going out and getting the tier 1 free agents, because we've seen often in free agency that those tier 1 guys are available because the team didn't want to sign them that was on, or that they were already on. And also sometimes that just doesn't work out, or it turns out to not be a good investment. And a lot of the tier 2, tier 3 guys, that's where a lot of the value ends up being. And unfortunately, that's also those are waters that the Bengals have waded in the last couple seasons, and they've done very well in them and found a lot of key players. So the idea is obviously they want to go all in terms of filling their needs, in terms of going out and being aggressive to get guys that they feel are good values that fit their system to fill these positions of need, whether that's a veteran right tackle that you feel better about, like a Kelvin Beachum or an Illuminor, who are just going to be at least solid and reliable, and they're going to be able to play, so you can figure out what in the world is going on with Lyle Collins and his health and what role he's going to play on the team. It's getting a veteran tight end, or at least going in with the intention, like you said, of maybe hitting tight end hard with how hard they've been meeting all these guys. Maybe they double dip and go for a guy in the third round, in the 6th round, or the 5th round that they feel better about, and trying to tap into that athleticism. I think you see them try and do that, maybe add a veteran corner or something for the cheap, just to shore out those positions, to give you that flexibility in the draft, to really allow you that flexibility to take the best player who may end up falling in your lap that you might not have prepared for because you couldn't expect it, especially when you're at the back end of the 1st round and you don't have any degree of certainty how that's going to end up. So in terms of, do the Bengals need to go in? Will they go all in? I think they will be aggressive in trying to fill these holes for these teams, or for this team, when sometimes in free agency, after a week or two, even after free agency ends, you were left wanting. You didn't feel like they did enough, or that they even really tried to aggressively fill the holes. I think that's going to be different, and has been different the last couple seasons.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you for the most part. Like, I think the Bengals will be aggressive, and they're going to do these things in free agency, restructure some contracts, hopefully some things we haven't seen before. But at the end of the day, I think it's, I'm gonna expect them to not necessarily stay away, but they're gonna hit the tier 2 to tier 3 free agents hard, because that's what this team needs. This team has the star power across the field. Obviously, if you can get one of these guys for a little cheaper, a deal, whatever, you do it. But I think, there's where this team can really improve. We haven't really seen them go all in ever. We haven't really seen that. So I think it's going to look a little different. It might not look the way people want it to, but I think we're going to have a bunch of quality players coming in, filling out a lot of these holes, like you alluded to, the depth. Maybe if we sign another star here or there, maybe we do, maybe we don't. But I think regardless, we're going to be, signing a few contributors that are going to play impact roles throughout the year.
I'll say this. Everybody thinks when they talk about free agency, right? Because what the Bengals like to do, the Bengals like to sign guys long term.
This man pulled an Ash Ketchum. I mean, he turned his hat all the way around.
You know what I'm saying?
He's so ready for this right now. All right, go ahead.
But in all seriousness, everybody's so used to the Bengals going out there and signing guys for 3 years, or whatever the contracts look like. The Joe Burrow effect is real in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
The Joe Burrow effect is real in Cincinnati. What I expect a lot of people are going to want to play with Joe Burrow. That does not mean that people want to come to Cincinnati and are committed to Cincinnati for the foreseeable future. But if you're talking about getting a ring to reestablish themselves, What's stopping them from coming to Cincinnati? I think that we see the Joe Burrow effect quite like no other this offseason.
Like the Kenny Galladay situation on crack.
Like the Kenny Galladay situation on crack, as Logan said. I think you're going to see some free agents wanting to take 1-year deals to come play with the Cincinnati Bengals, whether to boost their market when they do re-enter free agency, because the cap is going to do what it does every single year. It's going to go up. So I know we're not used to people signing 1-year prove-it deals here in Cincinnati, or 1-year deals saying, you know what, screw it, I want to win a ring. Right. But it happens to almost every Super Bowl, team that's aspiring for the Super Bowl. Don't believe me? Ask the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are going to lose Javon Hargrave. It's the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are going to lose Johnson, the safety. Yeah, it's what happens. Guys go to certain teams to try and reestablish themselves or get a ring, right? That's what happens. That's what happens in free agency. So I want us to get out of this mindset that, you know what, any free agent the Bengals sign, they have to be here long term. Again, expect the Bengals to do uncharacteristic things.
What about a guy like Justin Houston, who's trying to add to his not value in free agency, but his value in terms of a Hall of Fame resume, in terms of his post-career?
It's a matter of does he offer enough juice for the Bengals in the pass rush, right?
Yeah, because I think double-digit sacks last year.
Right. I think the Bengals still offer. I think he still has a lot to offer 18, but that's cool. But what if Leonard Floyd is like, I want to come play in Cincinnati for 1 year? What if Samson Ebukam is saying, I want to come play in Cincinnati for a year, retest? Yes, what if Mike Gesicki is saying, you know what? It's a deep tight end class. Everybody is saying you to the tight ends that are on the open market, because you want to know why? We could draft a Dalton Kincaid. We can draft a Michael Mayer. We can draft a Darnell Washington. We could draft a Tucker Kraft. What if Mike Gesicki says, you know what? I understand that, right? Miami tanked my value.
Terribly.
Miami tanked my value. Cincinnati can increase my value. What's stopping Mike Gesicki for saying, you know what, I'll sign in Cincinnati for 1 year, reestablish myself, possibly get a ring.
Learn to gritty better
from Jamar Chase, and then we're cooking. What's stopping that? Again, here's what I'll say. I think if you're talking about certain positions, right? Like not like a right tackle or something like that. Now, a guy like that might want a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal, whatever the case may be. But I'm talking about when you're looking in the draft right now, and you have the position of tight end being pushed down, the value of being pushed down by some of these guys, because we have a freak tight end class.
Yep.
Expect 1-year deals. Mike Gesicki is looking at, he's 27 years old, I believe. You got Mike Gesicki looking at it, and he's probably like, hell yeah, I want to come play in Cincinnati for 1 year. You mean to tell me I could play in Cincinnati for 1 year, allow whatever tight end they're going to draft, because if you don't know, the Bengals are going to draft a tight end this year, allow them to progress, get better, and then you mean to tell me I can increase my value, so next year the tight end class probably isn't as deep, and I could probably cash in for more money at the exact market value, because Mike Gesicki in a Cincinnati offense puts up close to 1,000 yards, in my opinion, because he has that type of upside. Hayden Hurst put up 450.
Missed a few games.
Mike Gesicki with Tua Tagovailoa put up 780 yards.
Yeah.
He's doing it.
Malik, if the Bengals
on fire. I'm on fire. Let's go.
People are loving it. They said, if we get Mike Gesicki, do we still draft Mayer?
Yeah.
I don't think no player that you have on the team currently outside of like Joe Burrow should preclude you from taking a talented player that falls in the draft, because that's about acquiring good players ahead of time. That's why when you come through and you get these guys who have been around for 2 years, whether that in this case is going to be a Dax Hill filling in for Jessie Bates, who voided that spot, whether that's going to be Akeem Davis-Gaither filling in for Jermaine Pratt. Yep. That's what you do. You take these good players because it will pay off down the road. You'll give them the time to develop. They can contribute right away. And then when you need someone who's on a cost-controlled contract because you just gave out expensive extensions to T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, and you've got one looming on that on the horizon in Jamar Chase, having those rookie contracts at those valuable positions will definitely be helpful. So take as many good players as you can, regardless of whoever's on the roster.
Especially if we're in these one-year deal situations that we're alluding to here specifically. It's not going to, a one-year deal is never going to stop you from drafting if it's just going to be BPA at that point, which is how the draft really should be.
Right.
No one-year deals will stop a draft pick, no matter what position or where it's at, really. In my opinion.
Agreed, man. I think that there's a way to go in without going all in.
Yeah.
Because you get that, right? Teams get, they're in their Super Bowl window. They either win the Super Bowl, they go to Super Bowl window, and then they say, oh, damn, we're out of it. The Bengals made the Super Bowl in a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
The Bengals made the Super Bowl in a rebuilding year.
I want to clarify something too. When people say go all in, I know they mean really maximizing the cap, using those void years, restructuring contracts, and kicking that can down the road 2 or 3 years to try and maximize a 1 or 2 year window that has come together. That's not what the Bengals are working with. They are trying to sustain the success, and they will max out the cap, but they are not going to push money into future years and rob Peter to pay Paul and put themselves in a worse position in 2 or 3 years, because they fully expect to be in the conversation in 2 or 3 years. So they are going to go all in, but they're not going to tank future years for that reason or on that account. So don't be expecting them to do crazy things like that, but expect a aggressive but measured approach to fill what they need and what they're looking for.
I love that. Before I say what I'm about to say, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do State of the Jungle every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, live from the First Yard Logistics studio. And we have live free agency shows going live 5 days a week next week. Make sure you guys turn on the post notification button so you guys do not miss when we do go live. Give this video a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But yes, to your point about going all in, I think there is a bit of an illusion there. Like, listen, so I did talk to you guys about the Bengals doing things that aren't in their MO. That does not involve restructuring. Because the way the Bengals set up their contracts, they don't do restructuring. The Bengals will not go out and do a Von Miller type deal like the Buffalo Bills did with this
void years tacked on the back. No, that's not how they do it.
That's not how they do it. The Bengals will, however, spread money over to, key guys that could help this team. They want guys that are going to be able to contribute to this football team next year, because guess what? I got a secret for you guys. The Bengals going all in has more to do about their coaching staff than it actually does to do with their Super Bowl window, because as it was told to me, the Bengals believe their Super Bowl window is open as long as Joe Burrow is their quarterback. However, they do not believe that they will have both coordinators beyond this year. They are going into this year as if they are going to lose one of their coordinators. So what does that mean? You have Lou Dooney here. You have Brian Callahan here. Let's go all the freaking way in on 1 year Latin deals. Let's do it with incentives built in, right? And let's try to maximize this roster, because guess what? Chances are we're probably either going to lose Lou or we're going to lose Brian, or we might lose both next year. So it's not too often your coaching staff stays together. It's the reason why the Bengals went out and they gave Pitcher the extension that they gave him to make sure he is the offensive coordinator in waiting. He is, right? The fact of the matter is the Bengals understand that these guys are not long for Cincinnati, and they have to maximize not only the roster, but the coaching staff. And what's going to happen? Listen, if Lou got another pass rusher, I love Sam Hubbard. I really, really do. I appreciate his efforts. I think he's a stout in the run game. But they need another guy that can rush the passer effectively.
Need more juice.
They need more juice at the pass rush.
Very bad.
So when you look at it, and guys, there are a lot of questions about Mixon. I see them. I promise you I see them. Again. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So the way I see this is the Bengals understand what's in front of them. They understand that they got a luxury by being able to keep this coaching staff together, and it's not going to always be that way.
No.
It's not going to always be that way. So they have to maximize the roster right now. They have to make sure they have the pieces in place. I get the sense that the Bengals are going to add depth to the offensive line. By depth, I mean, I don't know if they're going to go out and throw a crazy amount of money at a starting tackle or a starting or somebody in a starter position. When you look at the offensive line position, for instance, they can go out and get a guy that is that can be a swing tackle, a guy that is on the starting level, but also you can justify being a backup if a return of Lyle Collins does happen or something like that. That's what I see happening.
No, I agree 100%, man. I think that, $5 to $8 million range, maybe a little bit cheaper than that for some guys, depending on where the market actually lands on a few people. Maybe one of those vets who's ring chasing and doesn't mind just being on the roster, whether that's as a swing tackle or as a starter, and can give you competition, is an older guy in Kelvin Beachum who might be just looking for 1 or 2 more years. Is that, is that a Luminor who's had 1 starting year? That means, someone like the Bears can go out there and throw money at him that maybe, the market says 5 million and they say, we'll give you 8. And, whoever it ends up being, I wouldn't expect a splash starter for anything. I would definitely expect, like you said, competition, but not a guaranteed spot to start
The thing
necessarily.
with offensive linemen, that stuff too, like, yes, we all want offensive linemen, but so does every other fan base in the NFL. He just alluded to the Bears. The Bears can have any offensive lineman they want at this point. They can. Same thing for the Falcons. People have so much money, and I know we have Joe Burrow, we have this offense, we have these things, but a lot of people, money talks.
Average tackles are like hotcakes. They do not last. I'm sure.
So offensive line is gonna be interesting.
There's 18 to 20 teams everywhere that are just constantly like, God, we need a better tackle. I mean, all right, go ahead.
Eric, I see your question. You said, other media members that follow the Bengals are saying we won't do anything day 1 or day 2 in free agency. Do you see us signing anyone in the first day like last year? I'm friends with a lot of media members in Cincinnati. I'll say this. There were a lot of people in the media in Cincinnati that said the Bengals wouldn't be players on the first day of free agency, and so they made the first signing. There were media members that said they had sources that said the Bengals weren't going to draft a receiver the year that they drafted Jamar Chase, and I told everybody they were going to draft Jamar Chase. They said the Bengals were going to go offensive line, and they drafted Jamar Chase. I think a lot of that is speculatory and going off of it's like you haven't seen them do it. So you're speculating. I'm going off of people I speak with. I think the Bengals are going to be players in free agency, and they also understand that you can't wait around, right? You can't wait around. This front office, this staff, they're rejuvenated with the success that they've had the last 2 years. And they really believe that they're close. So I wouldn't put too much stock into what people say on podcasts and shows. I would just say, sit back, enjoy the show. The Bengals also understand that they have to maximize it. I'll say this. If they weren't planning to be players in free agency, they wouldn't do some of the things that they're going to do. Mic drop. So, we want to get the conversation going to my favorite part of the show, where we start answering people questions, where we start getting into it, because I think that this is a very fun show, a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we do, if you're looking to start your career today as a broker, there's no better place than First Star Logistics. Trust me, First Star is like my second home outside of my home. I spend more time at First Star Logistics Studio than I actually do in my house. The people here are magnificent. They treated us like family since the time that I joined here in September. So if you're looking to start your career today as a broker and be a part of a tremendous family, make sure you apply to First Star Logistics. The link is down in the description. We want to keep the conversation rolling. Also, do me a favor, by the way. If any of you guys out there have Facebook, right? Make sure you guys give First Star Logistics a follow on Facebook. When you do that, just do me a favor. In the comment section, if you could put complete, I greatly appreciate that. Give this video a like, subscribe to our channel. Daniel, let's get to some of the questions.
Yeah, we got a lot of free agency questions, a lot of draft questions.
Good.
So first, we're going to go to our guy, Chasten, who's always in the chat. He asked, what position could you see us spending on first right away in free agency?
I would say I could see tackle, I could see defensive line, and I can see tight end.
I agree with tackle because, like you said, they go quick, and you got to act real quick on free agency, and especially at that position. So I would definitely expect them to have a very ideal target or two in mind at that position and pursue them aggressively, whether that's, not saying it's going to be a 10 or a $15 million deal guy. It may be a little bit lackluster, but I think they're going to want to get their guy and get him early.
Yeah, I don't rule out a safety either. I feel like, even with Dax being here, you probably still need another vet in the locker room just in case the Dax Hill experiment doesn't go so well. So that wouldn't shock me either, really.
Our guy Travis asks, a contingency plan. What if Michael Mayer goes before 28? What do you guys think the Bengals do there?
Defensive line.
Yeah.
They talk to a lot of the interior defensive line there.
Yeah,
a lot of people are talking about Elijah Canty. I'm here to settle this storm. He's not going to be there. He's not going to be there. The NFL is pushing this weird Elijah Canty is the next Aaron Donald thing because they went to the same school?
He
and they
was he was top 5 in Chris Trapezo's mock draft before he went to the combine. So I don't expect him to be past like 15 at the
I don't even know if
lowest,
he'll make it
like-
past the Eagles at 10, to be honest.
Right.
At the latest.
Yeah, I think that it's gonna be interesting.
We got a Joe Burrow question. Do you guys think that the Bengals get the Joe Burrow contract done before free agency starts?
No.
We talked about that historically it's always pretty much
before
right
camp.
before the camp.
Yeah.
So
We got a question. Orlando Brown. What are you guys' thoughts on him in free agency?
yeah, that's about your answer.
All right. So hear me out.
Evan's got something for us.
He's
He's thinking.
Jonah is currently under contract. Whatever you think of him, right? Orlando is not going to come play right tackle for you and be happy about it because that's what he made a whole fuss about in Baltimore when he wanted to get traded initially, and now he's not getting the money he is. And honestly,
Cook.
if you're going to put him as literally one of the highest paid tackles in the NFL, he needs to be one of the best tackles in the NFL, and he just wasn't quite there. Is he better than Jonah? Absolutely. Guys, we're not saying these guys are not better than Jonah, but again, sign Orlando Brown. You put him at left tackle. Is Jonah just a $12 million backup? Y'all want to cut Lyle Collins, who literally is only going to get paid for the games he plays, and you want to get rid of him. And you're asking here clamoring for offensive line depth. I mean, I just don't understand it. The point is, we just talked about, they're not going to go and drop 20, $15 million on these free agents. Like it just doesn't make sense for them. It's not how they operate. It just does not quite fit. And people talk about Taylor Lewan. Guys, Taylor Lewan hasn't made the Pro Bowl for 4 years. It was 2018. He's had 2 major leg injuries since then. And when he did play for a little bit, he was Jonah Williams quality. So again, are you going to bring him in to play left tackle? Oh, you want to bring him in to play right? Well, what? You're going to switch him to right tackle?
He was coming off of an ACL injury.
That's what I'm saying. And guys, we remember how Geno looked in his prime off of an ACL. The year after, he had plenty of time to recover. It was October when that happened. He didn't look right for a whole year after that. And this guy is on the wrong side of 30 off 2 of those. Like, just be more realistic with your targets. Look at what makes sense. Like, even if I don't necessarily care for the price tag of Mike McGlinchey or how he performs in plays that aren't play action, quick screens, a lot of the stuff we see that kind of pollutes the picture of what he actually is when they're asked to drop back, which matters because you're not getting all of those protections that offensive linemen get when you're in the 49er system. The Bengals were, I think, top 5 in true pass set dropbacks last year. They want to throw the ball, so you need a quality pass protector. And there's just better options, and value does matter. I know there's people out there rolling their eyes going, you just don't want to pay this guy. He's too much. You said tackles are so hard to get. You got to pay him. Again, these contracts are going to matter when they come up, and probably getting one of these middle tier veterans for $5 to $8 to $9 million instead of paying 20 to get 80 and 90% of the same guy is the best way to go. And then they draft a guy either this year or next year, and then you let that guy be cheap and be good while Joe Burrow and everyone else are expensive until you can move that money around or do anything you need to do to navigate the cap at that time. And I also want to point out, everyone is so obsessed with the sacks, okay? Understood. Fine. They're important. You know what else is important in kills drives? Penalties. And Orlando Brown was tied for the second most penalties in the league last year. They matter, okay? So if you want to talk about, like, yeah, sacks matter, okay, those matter too. You complain that sacks are where quarterbacks get hurt. I want to see that same energy for QB hits. You want to talk about how pressures aren't valuable. You like Tom Brady? Pressure turns Tom Brady into Andy Dalton. So you want to tell me that pressure's not valuable, dude? I don't want to hear it. All right? I'm sorry. I'm done.
Let Ev cook. Holy.
Wow. I mean, I've never seen Evan McPhillips with this much energy on a show. He said if Tom Brady gets pressured, he turns into Andy Dalton. Damn. Was that your stat saying that, by the way?
It's if you have like a guy like Tom Brady, he turns into a league average passer, which I think we all agree that the Andy Dalton was the original Kirk Cousins in terms of like he's solid. He'll give you a game where he drops, 4 touchdowns and 300 yards. You're like, where's this all the time? But then he gives you the 3 interception game that goes, where is this? What?
Marissa said she was grabbing her popcorn for Evan in this whole line discussion. You got people fired up. Daniel.
Yeah, we've got a lot. Let's run through some of these. Bryce is asking, Malik, What do you see? Do you see us going out in free agency to try to attack our linebacker room?
No.
What's more likely, re-signing Pirine or letting Mixon go?
Letting Mixon go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on Eliu Minor?
He is a quality pass blocker,
Interesting.
quality run blocker, first year starting, so a little bit unproven. He is 28. So you got a first year starter who's still not past 30, who the market might be, he's not going to be as expensive maybe as a Mike McGlinchey at 15 million, and has been a better run blocker. I know Juwan Taylor is a fan favorite, and he took strides as a pass blocker last year. He was also the leading negatively graded run play percentage guy by PFF last year, and had the lowest run block grade of 57 total tackles. So
bad.
Again, there's questions for all these guys. There's a reason these guys hit free agency, right? And the good, solid, well-rounded tackles with no questions don't hit free agency because they get re-signed. So Illuminor is definitely the prime target for me because of the age, because of the cost. PFF currently projects him about $3.5 to $4 million a year, I think. And if you're talking about a starter on the open market, maybe people want to pay him a little more. Maybe it's 7, maybe it's 8.
I think he's going to get more.
I think $8-9 million for that guy is to go start at right tackle. Sign me up. I'm in.
Real quick, Malik, what's your, because I know you saw Brian Brees at the NFL Combine. What's your thoughts on him?
I love Brian Brees. I think he's a freak. I think he's better as an edge, more than an interior guy. Personally, I think the guy you have injury concerns, obviously, with him. So you have to be weary about that. That never makes any team feel comfortable. But that guy, man, he tested like a freak. He seems like he's healthy. He seems like he's up to speed. I like him in Cincinnati. I just don't know if he'll even make it there to 28 personally.
Will Von Bell be back, or do they go after a guy like Juan Thornhill?
I know the Bengals. Yeah, Juan Thornhill's a free safety.
I believe Von Bell will be back.
But and Von Bell is a guy that the Bengals covet. They want him. They do want him back. But you're obviously not going to franchise tag him.
I think for most people, I think Von Bell will be back. I think he's going to get a lot more money than I'm going to be happy with. But
I think he's essential enough to lose defense, and with the captain role and how much he means to that defense, I think they're willing to pay for that in this instance. I don't think that's a great way to operate all the time, but I think it kind of makes sense concurrently with all those factors.
Especially if you're losing a guy like you want a guy like Von Bell to help bring Dax Hill along.
Yeah, you don't need to go sign a guy right now. I saw this with Taylor. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to this. Someone else said that about Taylor Lewan. Sign him even just to get him in the locker room to be a leader. Guys, Joe Burrow is the leader of this team. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Logan Wilson, DJ Reader, Von Bell. These are the leaders. They don't need another leader. You don't go sign a guy for $3 or $4 million to be a leader. You do that if you're the Bears or the Falcons. And
this isn't the NBA. This isn't where you Udonis Haslam.
Right. Hey, stay away from my man. Stay away from my man, UD. All right.
He put a thing out. He was like, I've given all that I can. It's time for somebody else to step up.
You can just hear the exasperation in that statement, you know? Like, guys, I don't have it in me anymore. I'm too old for this.
He started a game this year, by the way. I don't know what that was about, but shout out. Shout out to you.
Hey, that man has earned everything he has, all right? Leave that man alone.
It's a dream.
Who are some of your guys' favorite day 3 targets on the draft that you guys like? Any that stand out real quick?
Oh, Lord. Logan, you got some. I know you got some guys.
Logan's the guy.
Well, there's a lot. It's just obviously it depends on what you're going to do in your first few rounds, what you're going to do in free agency. I mean, there's a plethora of tight ends we've looked at. I mean, Sam Laporta wasn't getting all the hype he was now. I liked him, but now he's way up on these boards. Malik Guys, Tucker Kraft. I know those aren't, they're going to go earlier than your day 3. Then you still have your Will Mallory's, your Braden Willis's of the world at your tight end position. You have a ton of running backs. I mean, this is a very deep running back class as well. There's a ton of names there. I mean, I know I'm not really giving names, more positions, but I think, that's where you historically find the value in these positions. Right. Yeah. I mean, there's the Bijans, the Jahmyr Gibbses of the world, the Zach Charbonnets, who the Bengals did meet with, but still, like, you historically find the value of those positions in the later rounds. And, we're probably going to need some of those positions, believe it or not. So
I think they'll attack defensive line for sure. Yeah. And I think another position that's kind of sneaky to look out for, which obviously people have tabbed, but we don't necessarily talk about enough, is maybe there's a punter in the 6th or 7th round where they get dibs on whatever they decide to be their guy. I mean, look where they took McPherson because they felt confident about him and what he could add to their offense. And maybe especially after last year, they have a little bit of, say, a little bit more incentive to look that way a little bit harder. So that's maybe something to look out for too.
So our guy DJ said this guy really hates Orlando Brown. Listen, he's being real. Evan was being honest and
Guys, I don't hate Orlando Brown. I hate paying Orlando Brown $22 or $23 million when you already have a left tackle on the roster that you're going to have dead money if you cut him, which the Bengals don't want to do. So what do you, if you don't like Jonah at $12 million as a starter, you're going to hate Jonah Williams as a $12 million backup. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense in position fit. He doesn't want to play right tackle. He wants to play left. You're not going to move Jonah. You're not going to, you got to go sign another guy at that point. And you're already maxing out against the cap and ruining some of your room and flexibility at other positions when you have other needs to pay this guy. And again, I'm just trying to say, people look at the sack numbers and they say, oh, look at Jonah and look at Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown is twice as better as him because Jonah has twice as many sacks. Well, again, penalties matter as many as sacks. Orlando.
Let Ev cook.
So it's not that I hate Orlando Brown. If they had $40 million in cap space, didn't have looming extensions, and no other clear glaring options or needs, and then they said, hey, Jonah Williams was hurt this year, or we're not interested, or they didn't pick up the option, then yes, go sign Orlando Brown. Hell yeah. But like, that's not the case. That's not the reality. And unfortunately, we can't just look at these tackles and say, who's better? We have to say, who's better, for what price, and for this team's situation. These all matter. You can't just look at this in a vacuum. Yes, Orlando Brown is overall a better tackler than Jonah Williams. Yes, Trent Williams is clearly a better tackle than Jonah Williams. No one is saying that. Everyone's saying Jonah is fine. And guess what? Fine gets you $15 and $16 million on the open market. Yeah. That's just the way it is in the NFL right now. That's the way it is in college. There's not enough offensive linemen to go around. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most arid, dry positions in terms of depth in the league, in the draft. And that's why you'll see 7, 8 quality tackles go off the board before probably the Bengals pick in the second round. Yeah. It's just, again, it's not the player. That's not the problem. It's just, it's unfair to look at any one metric or 10 plays of a 1,000 snap season and say, I know who he is. He sucks. We wouldn't do it for a draft prospect. We wouldn't do it for a quarterback. Why do we do it for offensive tackles?
Long story short, this isn't about Orlando Brown. This is us being real. Good job, Ev. So we got a question here from our guy, Jared. He's asking about the cornerback room, guys. He's worried about Cheeto, not coming back early on. Is there any chance that the Bengals look at corner depth in free agency with Eli and Trey being free agents?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's even better, though, is I also think the Bengals are going to draft a cornerback at some point.
Yeah. At some point, but not in the first round, you said. And
I don't expect in the first round. No.
Maybe not in the second either. Second or third, I think, is the round.
There's some good athletes down the board.
I'll just say this. I know for a fact the Bengals had a very good meeting with Clark Phillips.
You know how I feel about betting on outliers.
I love Clark Phillips.
He's the same height as Daniel, though.
He's small, and he did not test like a.
Does he play small though?
But he didn't even test.
Does he play small though?
Is it easier?
Remember, Mohamed Sanu, T. Higgins. There's a lot of guys. This is the underwear Olympics. A lot of guys go to the combine and they don't test well.
Don't Hugh Jackson me. Don't TJ Hushman's out of me. All right, let me finish my thought here. All right,
Cook.
Is it more impressive for a guy to run fast when he's 230 pounds compared to 160 pounds? Yes or no? So does it matter that we had an undersized guy who you'd expect to at least be an average athlete, just at least assuage those concerns? And he wasn't. He didn't test like one.
The one thing I will say about Clark at this point,
Ev's on one today.
The thing about
take him in the third or the fourth round.
That's what I was getting at. I think
that's what I'm saying.
I think it's trending that way, which is good. I mean, Clark was, for a while at the top of the board.
Yes, in the third or fourth round. I just didn't want him in the second.
No, I wasn't saying in the second. Okay. I think I could see a running back in the second. I could see a defensive lineman in the second. There's a guy right now that I love and nobody's talking about him. I love Will McDonald.
Freak.
Yep. Yeah.
Freak.
I think you see them bet on athleticism a lot this draft. I think they definitely want to add some youth and some juice.
They're missing a little bit
as they start to age more. As you get these Trey Hendricksons, Von Bell, Sam Hubbards, who start to get 28, 29, 30.
Yeah. So I know we asked Malik we asked Zach Taylor this at the combine, but is Zach I mean, is Dax Hill ready to be the starter, or do you think that we sign Jordan Poyer?
He has no choice.
Yeah,
It's
he
Dax
is
Hill
the
season.
starter. Yeah, period.
Oh, and
Done.
to your question about Jordan Poyer. Let's just say the question that you heard at the combine about Jordan Poyer being interested in Miami, or what would the Miami Dolphins say? Let's just say Jordan Poyer has been very vocal about possibly joining the Miami Dolphins. I think Jordan Poyer wants to end his career in Miami.
Very
And
vocal
I think
about his
that
taxes.
he is going to try to position himself to go to Miami. And I think the fact that Miami has a need there, I think it's an ideal fit, because I think Jordan Poyer also will sign for less to be in Miami.
I wonder how Bills fans will take that.
Oh, he's leaving the Buffalo. He's leaving Buffalo.
Want to just go into the division rival?
Oh,
too?
yeah.
Warm weather, no salary tax. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that's a good place to
can't
end your
complain.
career at. You know,
Sign me
Good
up.
idea, Jordan. Good idea.
So we got a question. This is Malik. We were actually talking about this one earlier. Caleb McGarry. What's your guys' thoughts on him?
I'm referring all offensive line question to the offensive guru, Evan McPhillips.
I'll say he's fine. He is fine. And again, it's all about the price
That's a
tag
word for him.
appropriate. He is just fine. Like it's not impressive. If you look at true pass sets, it's oftentimes like slightly below average. It's not ideal, obviously, as a guy that you want to just say, we're going to cement you as the starter, but as a guy to bring in and say, hey, we'll give you a deal to compete, and he wants to do that, then I don't know how great you feel about him necessarily.
He's solid. Like you said, fine's a very good word for him. And you know what?
For tackling free
that's
agency who's
perfect.
available, that's
perfect
what
for
you
our
have to
situation.
work with.
Yeah, that's
That is
fine.
it.
That is fine.
I just want to remind everybody, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, but more importantly, if you guys can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have 212 people in the chat right now. Woo! Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate it so much. I appreciate you guys' support. We can't do this without you guys. And we appreciate your support.
Our guy Bengals Talk with Strawberry Ice asks, who's going to be the guy who returns punts for the Bengals this year?
It's not on the roster.
I like that answer.
I don't think he's on the roster.
No, I think you see them try and get a skill position guy in the draft who's got some juice.
Yeah.
They can either do that, whether that's a mid
There's a
to late
number of
round
them.
wide receiver, or maybe they got a cornerback with some chops or a safety or something. But we'll see. I think they might throw a pick Darren Simmons' way and say, hey, give us your guy in the 5th or 6th round.
I know Zim's a big fan of Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Big Tank Dell guy.
Yeah. There's a number of those. There's always a number of those shorter, twitchier guys. For somebody on the roster, obviously you're going to look at your Chris Evans, but with the value of, it wouldn't shock me with, everybody's kind of, there's some, speculation about him. I could see Tyler Boyd getting back there at this point in his career too. Just kind of got to find a way to produce, you got to find a way to be valuable to this football
team. He did a little bit at Pitt, didn't he?
Yeah. And he's done it a few times. So it wouldn't shock me to see him go back there at this rate either.
I've been asked this question a lot. I know Daniel's supposed to be the one controlling the questions, but somebody asked about Adeta Miwa Adebawara. Here's the one issue with him. I watched a lot of his tape. He has an issue with actually tackling. He's always the first one there, but he's never the guy to get the person down.
Wouldn't you rather tell a guy to slow down because you can coach a guy to slow down, but you can't coach a guy to speed up, right?
But what was the biggest? I think Lou and the staff, they had PTSD.
That's
when
fair.
they first took over here, nobody could tackle. You could be the first one there all the time, but it's just if you turn on his film, it's too many times where he's the first one there, but he never is the guy to get the person ever. He has serious tackling issues.
Well, look at the guys they signed: Mike Hilton, Von Bell, good tacklers.
They want tacklers.
Trust.
I watched his film very, very closely. He does not seem like he's a Lou guy.
Any news on Eli Apple?
I know there's no news on Eli Apple. I know as of last year, Eli Apple thought he was going to cash in free agency, and he thought he was leaving Cincinnati. And apparently, he told some people that. This was last year I'm talking about. He obviously was thrusted into the starting cornerback role. He played at a very adept level. If I was Eli Apple, I would hitch my wagon to Lou Anarumo for as long as I can, because that man revived your career and he made you into a formidable cornerback. I do not know what Eli Apple thinks. I don't know if Eli Apple burned a lot of bridges around the National Football League. And teams are going to be knocking down that door. But I do think if I was Eli Apple, I don't care if the Bengals are offering me a fraction of what I was making, which I believe was $4.5 million. I'm staying. I'm doing a 1-year deal with the Bengals, then coming back to Cincinnati.
Is there any truth to the Twitter rumor of a big-time player being interested in coming to Cincinnati?
There are going to be a lot of big time players that are going to be interested in coming to Cincinnati. It's a matter if they're okay with it. Shout out my guy Joe Goodberry's in the comment section.
Joey G.
Joe Goodberry's in the comment section. Good to see you, Joe. When are you going to come back on the show? That's what we want to know. Comment down below, Joe, and let us know when you're going to come back to the show. Or Joe, how about you do me a favor for the people, please? How about you drop a question down there? We'll answer it. Right? Joe Goodberry is a great follow on Twitter. If you guys don't follow him, sure. If you're on the show, you probably follow him.
So we got a question about receivers in the draft. Kayshon Boutte, or how high do you think that the Bengals will draft the wide receiver?
I think the Bengals are going to draft a wide receiver, and I think they're going to draft a different style of wide receiver because you look at the back half of the room. There's too many guys that are a lot alike. Too many Trent Irwins, too many Trent Taylors. Now, I like Trent Irwin. That guy's a dog. And I had a great conversation with him, I want to say about a month and a half ago. Maybe a little longer at this point. Dave did an interview with him, and it was fantastic. You guys can go check it out on In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. You guys can go check out that interview. But yeah, he was freaking awesome. So I like Trent Irwin as a guy I could see coming back to Cincinnati. He's sneaky fast. He's a guy that kind of
sneaky athleticism.
Sneaky athleticism.
Bring your lunch pail to work.
He's a
guy,
he's,
you know?
He's a guy,
first one in, last one out.
He's a guy that just catches you off guard, man. So like I could see. I think Trent Irwin's coming back. Is he even a free agent? I think he might have one more year deal.
I don't know.
I can't recall.
Honestly, I know Taylor's.
Like you said, I fully expect them to go. Whether that's round 3, 4, get
it's
one
not,
of those.
It's not that like Tom Brady's.
Maybe those guys.
Don't
With
worry
some
about him
juice.
jabbing him up.
No, I think you'll see somebody maybe to be that Tyler Boyd replacement here in a year or two.
There's some fast guys down the board. Like we also Trey Palmer. He's a pretty good fit. He ran a 4.33. Demario Davis from TCU ran a 4.36. Both guys that bring that juice, but they also bring that return ability that we were talking about too. There's a lot of different. Just get somebody that can run really fast.
He's a lunch pill kind of guy.
Yeah,
Somebody put
lunch
that
pill
in
on his hard hat.
Yeah, lunch pill on a hard hat. That's what they say for guys they don't know how to like properly just.
They're just good at football.
They just
He's
show up to work.
he's a real football player.
Right. You let him date your daughter.
That's hilarious. Our guy Kyle has the biggest offseason question of them all. He said, "When are we getting a punter?"
This year.
Yeah,
they're going to get
whether free agency or like late in the draft.
They're going to get a punter this year.
Yeah,
no more shanking punts.
No
more shanking punts. No more. Kicking 25 yards.
Man, probably UDFA if I really had to put a guess on it. But
I saw somebody say something about Clyde Edwards-Helaire earlier. Let me be clear with you. The Bengals are not giving up any assets to the Kansas City Chiefs.
What if he's a free agent?
He's a real cut.
They would have to cut him.
I think that's a real possibility, though.
They'd have to cut him.
That's a real possibility, though.
Yeah, I don't
see.
I don't know. There's a reason that there's a 7th rounder that's playing over him.
Yeah. And Jerick McKinnon, free agent, though.
We got a good question here. You guys have all been Bengals fans for a while. So, from your guys' time covering and just being Bengals fans, do you guys think that the Bengals are going to trade up into the draft? If a top 10 player falls down to 20-ish.
I disagree with you. I disagree.
You think so?
Wholeheartedly.
Let's
go,
Malik. Let me have it.
I think.
Tell me how wrong I am.
It has to be the perfect opportunity. Okay, it can't be a thing. If you're asking me, the Bengals.
The camera's all on you, Malik.
If you're saying about the Bengals are, if you're talking about the Bengals are going to, if you're saying the Bengals are going to trade up in the first round, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. But if you're saying in multiple other rounds, 100% that could happen. The Bengals tried to trade up to get Jawan Taylor. The year that he was drafted, and literally a flurry of offensive linemen went.
So you think if for some reason people get like enamored with, let's say, the cornerbacks who are the top of the draft and very athletic early, maybe Deontay Banks jumps into that mid-teens area, right? You get these defensive linemen. You said Kalijah Cansey going early. If that pushes one of these quality offensive tackles to spot 20, do you see them making a move on that?
Not in the first round.
Okay.
Not in the first round.
So what position would it have to be for you?
I think
that. Don't give me a player. Give me a
what's
position.
This player's initials?
Who is it, Malik? What do you know? What do you know?
Listen. All I can tell you here is the Bengals are going to prioritize pass rush this free agency. This offseason. They're going to prioritize pass rush because they want more juice at the pass
21st in PFF pass rush grade as a team.
Need to get better.
Not good enough.
Need to get better there. You let Mahomes sit back there, especially when you know what you're dealing with. Now it's not about beating the teams in your division because you're already doing that.
Yeah.
It's about beating the teams to get to the Super Bowl, like the Chiefs, like the Bills. And it's about sustaining success, to Evan's point. And at that point, they have to look at themselves because you're getting past your division. but your competitor is now on a grander scale. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills. It's people with these high-powered offenses.
Mhm.
So what do you now? You have to draft to win your
Everybody.
conference.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's a amazing position to be in. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
great position to be in.
It is.
Pass rush, you can never have enough pass rushers.
No.
Right?
And they're loaded in the draft. It's not like you have to reach for a guy. It's not like
Exactly.
you're looking at a position like center that there might be one or two guys,
Yep.
and then if one goes, you got to reach.
Yep,
No,
that's what we've been
it's
talking
deep.
about. The draft lines very well with what the Bengals need. Very well.
Defensive line, tight end,
Yeah.
corner class is
Running
really
back.
athletic. Running back,
Got
it's
it all.
it's all the guys they've been meeting with too. Like you said, interior defensive line, running backs,
Mm-hmm.
tight ends, some corners too. That's where they've been at.
Our guy Devin's asking about the running backs. He said, how do you guys feel about possibly going after Derrick Henry, or should
No.
the Bengals go after Bijan Robinson?
That's a very particular question.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have your agenda there. that
Which one do you
us
want?
which one do you want, brother? Because it seems like you want us to feed into that.
Yeah.
I'm an analytics guy, and I would go ahead and say if Bijan's there, he's a special talent. If he falls to him, like that would be
But he
a
won't.
player that I would consider. I would normally say off the table for all the value reasons, for all the fifth-year option reasons, for the defensive line class, blah, 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 where you get defensive ends and corners versus running backs in the draft. He's a special prospect. I don't mean to, steer away from that, but I just, again, Derrick Henry, you're talking about a running back who's had a ton of miles going back to all of his time at Alabama. You've got a guy who's over the age of 27, 28 now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when these running backs break down. And I don't care who you are, whether you're Todd Gurley, David Johnson, the guys we all said they're different right before they broke down and got cut or traded from their team. So that's all.
Unrelated to free agency, but do you guys think that the Bengals play Kansas City on opening night on Thursday Night Football?
I hope we do.
Mm.
I hope we do. I'm licking my chops. I hope that they do. I'm not even playing, but I hope they do, because I think that game, the AFC Championship game, was an outlier. I don't think that's going to be indicative of the future matchups. But I just finally got Chiefs fans to stop commenting under every single post of mine, calling me Lalik and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm not saying anything.
Do you guys see, the Bengals trading back opposed to trading up?
All options are on the table.
Yeah.
If they think they can get a guy, I think it makes sense. If you can get another pick,
Expensive offer.
You get more picks in a class this deep with this many athletes. Yeah, I think that's
Leading.
only good for
Yeah,
you.
I mean-
Again, they want to get cheaper.
Yeah.
And good way to do that is draft a lot of rookies.
And obviously, I think I'm always a big trade back guy too, but a fifth year option is pretty important too,
Mhm.
depending on what you got in draft. If they're
is.
a little locked in on a tight end, they're like, okay, we don't really need a fifth year option there. But if they're gonna go, your D lineman, the offensive line, your more expensive positions, you're like, okay, maybe we should just stay pat and kind of secure that fifth year option.
Right.
Question from our guy Max. He said, what do you guys think are the chances that Samaje Perine is the running back one for the Bengals
No.
this year?
I don't think they'd be satisfied with that.
No.
I think there's a better chance he's gone than being an RB1.
Can you guys see a Larry reunion? I'm guessing Larry Ogunjobi.
Larry O.
He was very upset with the Bengals that BJ Hill got the money that he wanted, essentially. He tried to cash in with the Bears, and we know what happened with their medical, not clearing him medically.
Mhm.
Deal was already given out to BJ Hill. I think the Bengals are going to look to officially draft a 3-tech
Tech.
this year.
Finally.
Javon Dexter's a name to keep your eye on. That's all I'm going to say.
Matt Brewer is asking once again about the running backs. He's saying Gibbs, Tyjair Spears, Charbonnet, Vaughn. Any of these guys make sense in your guys'
Charbonnet.
opinions?
It all makes sense.
Charbonnet.
We
I
need a
love
running back.
Charbonnet.
Yeah, I like him too.
Love him.
I like them all. Running backs are fun. And this offense, I think any kind of style running back, you can be like, yeah.
That's the thing. All those guys are fun and good, and you'd be happy to have them in the offense. And that's the difference between tackle, corner, defensive end in the first round or two of the draft versus running back elsewhere, because you can find all these guys that you'd feel good about or like in the third or fourth round as a running back. You can't do that with those other positions.
Can I just say this off topic? I'm really excited for Akeem Davis-Gaither this year.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
man.
For
I'm
sure.
so excited for Akeem Davis-Gaither. He's a guy that I think has a big upside.
Yeah.
Big upside.
Not a little off topic here too. Not that this will happen, just pure mind. He'd be a guy I'd like to kind of talk about extensions with right now before he goes crazy. But I don't think that'll happen. But
I'm going to make a bold prediction.
I expect him to have a good year.
And I've been saying this, and I said it on stage.
Do
I said on State of the Jungle at the NFL Combine, I expect Jermaine Pratt to cash in with the Patriots.
Yeah.
I do. I know Bill Belichick coveted him. I keep saying it. I don't see Jermaine Pratt going anywhere besides the New England Patriots. And if he didn't go to the New England Patriots, I expect him to go to the Raiders. That's what I would think. But Akeem Davis-Gaither, I believe, is going to have a breakout year.
Our guy JJ keeps asking Leighton Vander Esch Vander Esch. Is that
What about him?
to the Bengals?
No.
Okay, is he talking about Leighton Vander Esch or is it a draft prospect?
What are the initials?
Vander Esch.
There's Lucas
Oh,
Van
Van
Ness.
Ness. Van Ness.
No, it's Vander Esch.
Van Der Esch?
Vander
Oh,
Esch.
no,
yeah,
to both
no,
of them.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
It's
well,
simple.
I was gonna say David Bakhtiari to the Bengals? ?
Left tackle again.
We've been hurt too.
Guys, you're not asking 35 and 34-year-old
Seems like we have a
tackles
type.
off an injury to
Like
switch
17
to
and
switch
a half million
sides.
or something
Yeah.
like that.
It's not
Keeps getting
Madden.
hurt.
This is not NCAA. They're
Injuries
not
are on.
interested.
Be
They're
nice,
not
Evan.
looking for it.
Cincy Hub actually makes a good point. He said Joseph Osai is going to go crazy next season
He
too.
is.
Yes, sir.
He is.
Malik, what other tight ends do you like in this year's draft?
Tucker Kraft, Dalton Kincaid. I don't like Darnell Wright.
I was gonna say, yeah. Why don't you tell me the tight end you don't like?
Darnell.
Let it loose.
Darnell. I think too many
Go
people
ahead.
fall in love with the Underwear Olympics, and production still matters.
What
And it's a fun pick. Trust me, the guy's is a beast blocking. I know that's Logan's guy, but I think that there are more complete guys there at the tight end position.
Logan, your rebuttal.
Well, the thing with Darnell, like,
Evan the instigator.
the thing I liked so much about Darnell and still do, obviously was very high on him. There's a clip on our YouTube from weeks ago telling about how I would love him at 28. That was before this combine and everything. The thing that just feels so good about him, the Bengals, to me, is his blocking ability. He's just so safe as a prospect in that regard. And to Malik's point, the receiving game, he leaves a little bit to be desired. He obviously has athletic ability, the build to dominate in that area, but we don't know if that's there. We'd like to think it's there. I like to think it's there. You don't run that fast, you don't jump that high in that build and just suck. Maybe you do, but at the very least, he's a blocker. But also, your numbers are going to be down in college when you play behind one of the best tight end prospects we've seen in a long time, too.
Can I make a lot of people mad right now?
Yeah.
Said excellent blocker. Feel great about him, right? A little bit raw as a pass catcher. Hasn't quite developed all that, but you believe you can coach that out looking at his athleticism and looking at his profile, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, that sounds a lot like Drew Sample.
Yeah, but Drew Sample's 6'4".
I know. I'm kidding, y'all. Obviously, the profile of the physicals is completely different. I'm just making a joke. It's fine.
No, man, I'll never understand the Drew pick, bro.
No, that's obviously
I
that
love
was
the guy.
That was getting
like,
maybe a little bit cute and maybe kind of saying we've got our guys and we don't care where anybody else maybe has them.
Yeah,
and we want to make sure that we get them, which I understand.
Can I start the train of Andrew Voorhees to be drafted in the 5th round?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Guy tore his ACL is going to fall in the draft.
I mean, do you even want to wait that long with your 4th round pick being
He's
basically
good.
the end of the round?
Bro, he repped the most on the bench with the torn ACL. Walked out there on his crutches, legs up, straight arms.
He said, I'm laughing because I just processed what Evan said again. He's sick, and I make people mad. Darnell Washington sounds like Drew Sample. That's great. That's a great one. That's great. That's excellent. You're terrible.
I know.
You're
I'm
horrible.
on one today, man. I couldn't help myself. It's all right.
Well,
Twitter got me all riled up.
Ev, keeping it going, Travis is asking DeJuan Jones or Darnell Wright?
At this point in the process, I probably feel better about Darnell Wright.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
DeJuan Jones is either going to be great or going to be a bust.
No in
That's
between,
fair.
bro.
I
Literally
feel
no
a
in
lot
between.
better about what we've seen, especially from the athletics.
And
Athletics side of
the thing about Wright too, he could come in and be your right tackle now if you wanted. He also play numerous snaps at left tackle as well. So
next year when Jonah's off the roster, there you guys go. Are you happy now?
Yeah, he can kind of help you now and next year as well. I think Darnell Wright. We know Malik said maybe no offensive lineman round 1, but if they do go that route, he'd be at the top of my list for realistic possibilities there.
Real quick, Quinn's asking Joe Burrow extension predictions and T. Higgins prediction if
Man, I
that
have no idea.
happens.
Andre
A lot.
Parada has some excellent, very detailed breakdowns, including bonuses, guaranteed money. I would definitely recommend going and taking a look, as he has laid it out more simply and a lot better than any of us could. But I would expect Joe Burrow to get whatever money he wants. And I think T. Higgins kind of being in that just below the top tier range, the A.J. Brown range, the Terry McLaurin range, not quite the top of market, but just
Yeah.
below it. I think that's kind of his area.
Quinn, you didn't do anything, my brother. We answer that question quite often about Joe Burrow versus T. Higgins. You had no idea. It's completely fine. We just don't. It's one of those things where it's hard to predict. What he's going to sign for, and he understands. All I know is that he knows he wants to keep his guys around, and he understands that him taking a 55 million, whatever that looks like a year.
Maybe he says, give me 85, 90% guaranteed and I'll take less total money. Or maybe he says, give me less guaranteed so you can have more flexibility and add the dollar
and
value.
I'll keep adding this. It's not talked about enough. Quarterbacks cash in multiple times in their career. Receivers and running backs do not. Let's not even talk about running backs because Bengals ain't paying no running back. Receivers cash in maybe once or twice in their entire career. Quarterbacks can cash in at the age of 35, at the age of 36.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is entering in his first contract negotiation, or already started his first contract negotiation with the Bengals. There will be so many opportunities for Joe Burrow to make up money. The Bengals always take care of their quarterbacks. In Colts Mania, you're not getting T. Higgins off of us. So you have Michael Pittman Jr. So yeah.
Sean's asking, what are you guys' thoughts on the Lamar Jackson situation?
All right, I'm going to get really, really real right now about this. It's completely disrespectful. The fact that you allowed it to get to this point as the Baltimore Ravens, it's disrespectful. In turn, I will say Lamar Jackson could have handled the situation a lot better. There are a lot of people, assuming a lot of things about the Lamar Jackson situation with the Ravens. And let me just say this. It's not disrespectful in the sense that they couldn't come to an agreement because negotiations happen all the time where people are far apart.
Yeah, that's not the worst
close.
about it.
What's disrespectful is they traded for a linebacker in season, and only with a few weeks of having that linebacker, they paid him quarterback money, $100 million. He's the highest paid linebacker in NFL history, I believe, right? Or interior linebacker.
He's up something like that.
Something like that, off-ball in NFL history, off-ball linebacker in NFL history. And to me, I think that's where the disrespect comes in for Lamar Jackson. I know Lamar Jackson, he handled it very, very properly on social media, but I'll say this. What the Ravens are saying in public is not actually what's going on behind the scenes. That is not me speculating. That's things that I know. That's why Rashad Bateman came out and said what he said.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all going to stop capping and y'all going to stop putting it on us and throwing 8 under the bus and things of that nature. There's a lot of lies being told by DaCosta and by Harbaugh, and it's coach speaking. It's things that's why people are in uproar for it, because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you really view Lamar Jackson the way you view Lamar Jackson, you would have gotten the deal done. You wouldn't have let it lapse. You wouldn't have let it get to this point.
Right.
Because he is your franchise quarterback. He is a guy that you value. And every single day that it goes by that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson doesn't have a deal, you are telling him what you think of him. Every single day you are telling him what you think of him. The fact that you didn't even put a franchise tag and you put a non-exclusive tag. So what that means is you're allowing other teams to go out there and flirt with your franchise quarterback. And what you're openly saying is there is a price for my franchise quarterback. What you're openly saying is these 2 first-round picks is the price to acquire, or what it takes for us, for you to acquire our franchise quarterback. And let me tell you something right now. Patrick Mahomes, there is no price in the National Football League that you can offer to get that guy. Joe Burrow, there is no price in the National Football League that you can get, you can offer to get that guy. When you let it get to this point, right? The disrespect already continued when the deal wasn't done. The disrespect continued when you paid your linebacker and Roquan Smith. But to now hit him with the non-exclusive tag and then say, you know what, teams, if you want him, here's 2 first-round picks, you can have them. It's still a franchise tag. It's still no deal in place. You guys have negotiated for 2 years and there's still nothing in place. The fact that he is still in the same spot, financially speaking, that he was last year, and you guys are dangling him out there as trade bait is absolutely egregious. And guess what? It would not shock me if Lamar Jackson has played his last down for the Baltimore Ravens. Be truthful with yourselves. Tell this guy if you want to move on, right? Let's be real about it. But the simple fact of the matter is, the Baltimore Ravens did not do right by Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson could have handled things a lot better. Lamar Jackson could have traveled with the team when they faced the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC playoffs. They chose not to do those things. The fact of the matter is Lamar Jackson's a league MVP. People can say all you want about his play style is reckless and all this kind of stuff like that. Lamar Jackson's play style might be that, but Lamar Jackson has also proven that he's able to protect himself to some degree. when he's on the football field, let's strictly just talk about how he amplifies the team.
They are a bottom 2 offense.
They are
without him.
exactly. And so
that is factual.
You know,
That is not-
they may be rivals of the Bengals, but I got to be honest with you about it. I feel for Lamar because I think that anybody else would have gotten paid already.
Absolutely.
Daniel Jones, okay?
40. Thank you. That's what I was about to say. That's part of my
Daniel
2 cents. Go ahead.
Jones.
40
And
million per year.
Me and his best friend are very, very close. His best friend was pissed at me and unfollows me and follows me back because I'm very, very critical of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones just got paid what he got paid. And I'm going to be honest with you. Bottom tier. Derek Carr just got paid what he got paid. Trash. That's a fact, okay? The Saints just paid for trash. He's a stuck in the mud quarterback. When are teams going to realize you cannot win with the Kirk Cousins? You cannot win with the Daniel Jones. You cannot win with the Derek Carrs.
Didn't we learn that in the Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen face-off like 2 seasons?
You cannot win with the Ryan Tannehills.
No.
They need everything perfect around them to help lift them up. They are not game changers. They are not the quarterbacks that bring the best out of their teams. So if you want to know why people are annoyed, it's not that everybody are Lamar Jackson truthers. It's that guys like Derek Carr, who is absolutely trash, can go out there and cash in. And guys like Lamar Jackson, who literally uplifted an organization and has made them run a competent office. Taysom Hill got paid.
And just you covered so much of that situation really well there. And just my quick 2 cents on it is, like you talked about, he's won an MVP. He's still young, and he's proven to be one of the best weapons in the NFL.
I'm sorry to cut you off real quick. I'm sorry. Colts mania, I won't relax. First of all, you have no room to talk. The Colts haven't had a franchise quarterback since Andrew Luck. You don't know what a good quarterback looks like anymore. You're regulated to thinking that freaking Phillip Rivers is a franchise quarterback or Carson Wentz is a franchise quarterback. I'm simply saying, don't tell me that you look at Lamar Jackson's body of work and you say that guy doesn't deserve to get paid. Derek Carr, if you still think Derek Carr has another level to reach, I got news for you. You're kidding yourself. Well, Derek Carr had Devontae Adams. Derek Carr had Hunter Renfrow. Derek Carr had Darren Waller. Derek Carr had Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr had so much talent to help uplift them. What's my man that walks around barefoot? He was walking around barefoot.
Matt Collins.
Right? Come on now. Like, stop. Like, trust me, I know because I did that. I've had a quarterback that was stuck in the mud. We've had quarterbacks that weren't able to get that next gear. If you still think Derek Carr has another, has another gear to reach, I have a boat to sell you in Tijuana. It's not real.
The Derek Carr situation is a whole other thing, but just what I wanted to say about Lamar is that, like you said, the way that I see the Ravens being praised, oh, they're so smart about how they did this. The transition tag, like you said, they're going to let the market decide what they pay him. I can see that as disrespectful to Lamar for what he's done, what he's accomplished, and what he's meant to them. But also, this guy was clearly hurt. John Harbaugh never came out and said in these press conferences, he's doing everything he can to get back in here. He will be here when he's healthy. He just kept saying, I don't know. Ask him. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And you've got his teammates. You got Marlon Humphrey coming out saying, look, all I know is that man is still limping around right now. And they're trying to put him out to play. And people go, I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. But then the Rashad Bateman stuff comes out. And then you've got all these former players talking about, I had that same injury Lamar had. I tore my pecs doing that. What's the likelihood that that training staff and that strength coach is also messing with what's going on with Lamar? What's to say that they're not doing that? So between all that stuff, I think they've mishandled that in that regard, especially. Yeah. You could have gotten a lot of goodwill with him just by at least saying that in the media. It's real easy to be like, he's trying, he's working hard.
You know what the talk was? You know what the talk was at the combine? Not gonna lie. You know what it was? People were laughing that they hired Todd Monken. I think Todd Monken is a great offensive coordinator, but Todd Monken has never had a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Weird. Todd Monken amplifies the passing game. He amplified it in Tampa.
With what receivers?
That was the talk. Like, people always just talk, they did. People aren't looking at the true interest.
And I like Rashad Bateman. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to slight him at all whatsoever.
Bro, you hired Todd Monken. I'm very curious to see how it plays out. I mean, to me, that doesn't speak to a team that is expecting Lamar Jackson back. That speaks to a team
They're
that's
looking
expecting to
going
have-
another direction.
that speaks to a team that I think is expecting to have a pocket passer or a quarterback in the more traditional sense, if you will. That's what I think.
Do you guys think there's a chance that the Bengals sign Gardner Johnson in free agency?
If they weren't going to pay Jessie Bates, I don't think they'll pay somebody not in house. But good fit. I will say that.
Right. And I don't know. Malik, your thoughts?
No.
Nope. There it is.
If you guys had to give, one person that the Bengals would sign that's a big free agent, who would it be?
I see you smiling over there. Go ahead. Spill the tea.
Nope.
Spill
I'm
the
giving it to
tea.
you two. I'm giving it to you two.
Malik's answer is Mike Gesicki, if he could pick. So there's that. My answer for, I guess, just like in this like realism or not too realistic, really. Isaac Seumalo from the Eagles is guard, one of the best in the league, in my opinion. I mean, that's just when you have an opportunity to add a player like that on your team, you just do it. Like I said, I know it's not the most realistic thing in the world, but
It's about the Eagles guard.
Yeah, just beast. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Sometimes.
I know the Falcons have interest in him.
Yeah, I mean he's good. He's gonna make a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Smash Adams is asking about Irv Smith Jr. What do you guys thoughts on him in free agency?
Doesn't preclude you from drafting any tight ends, but
No.
it's definitely nice to have that body in the room.
Like we talked about a little bit ago, there's so many tight ends. Free agency, the draft, whatever it is, people are going to get value in the draft or free agency, both. It's going to be interesting to see how that whole market plays out this offseason.
Our guy Devin said Levante David. What are you guys' thoughts on him to the Bengals?
I like Levante David. He's
Just
not
not.
going to
We
be a
just
Bengal.
don't need to get
Again,
linebacker.
fit matters, guys. Like they don't just go shell out top of market money at people who don't fit, especially an immediate need. And they have groomed Akeem Davis Gaither.
Yeah.
They've been ready for
Wilson.
While we got 240 people here, if you guys can do us a huge favor, give this video a like, please. Though subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a goal that we are trying to reach. We can't do it without you guys. If you guys like the content, if you guys want to make sure you catch every free agency show when we go live, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the post notification icon.
Please and thank you.
Please
Love
and
you
thank
guys.
Real quickly, since we were just at the combine, what are you guys' thoughts on 40 time? Do you guys feel like it helps a player's stock, or do you feel like what's your guys' thoughts?
I can answer this after you do your thing. Go ahead.
John Ross. Mic drop.
The data supports that 40 time is significantly overvalued in terms of draft position as opposed to actual production and translation, which when you think about it, who is running 40 yards in a game in a straight line? Sometimes wide receivers, cornerbacks might sometimes do it. Running backs might sometimes do it. But again, that's a few times a game. The 10-yard split is a much better measure of what you're looking at. Vertical and broad jump are going to give you a much better idea of how explosive a player is. 40 is definitely overvalued because it's the easy thing to see, digest, evaluate, and it's fun.
Easiest to watch.
It doesn't necessarily correlate to NFL success. There's benchmarks you need to hit, but once you hit those, it kind of tends to be split.
The combine is just, it's the fun thing. It's a thing that a lot of people have access to. Not everybody watches film like that, so they base a lot of things off the combine. But realistically, the combine and all that stuff from there needs to be a portion of your assessment, just like everything else. Not everything everything has to have a percentage and everything. And I think obviously the combine gets a little overhyped because, like I said, everybody can access the combine. Not everybody's going to go out here and be watching all 22 and do all this stuff. So I think, to the more, like the casual, the typical fan base, this guy's good at the combine, he's going to be good at football. In reality, it's just a fraction and a portion. Sometimes it's more important to this organization or this person, but in reality, it has to be a perfect mix of film, production, combine, everything.
Thoughts on Cam Jordan in free agency?
Well, we got his guy here in Trey Hendrickson. I don't see it happening.
I don't either.
But again, 1 year deals are going to be the story of this year's free agency. Do not get attached to any of these guys because if they sign 1 year deals, the chances are they won't be back here next year. The year after that, whatever.
Travis is asking, Logan, do you follow college pro days? And also, what are your thoughts if you watch them on Purdue tight end Payne Durham?
Payne Durham had a solid Senior Bowl. I wasn't too familiar with him before the Senior Bowl. He seems pretty solid. I mean, I know he did a lot of HVAC stuff there as well. He's one of your more like, he's not gonna be in my opinion, he's not gonna be a starting tight end. too much in the NFL, but he can be, your second, third string tight end that produces when needed. Reminds me a lot of Ethan Carter from a few years ago. Kind of your fullback, kind of just does a little bit of everything. But from pro days, pro days are a little, I don't know how to feel about pro days. You keep up with them, but they're weird. Didn't mean to throw it back to Ethan Carter there, guys.
Sorry, you threw him back, and that threw me back, and okay, go ahead.
Brian Leonard, all the ghosts.
Oh my God! But there's value. I think the Bengals need to actually look at adding a fullback potentially.
Dude, I think so. Running back going. One of those tight ends that can do both, that can move well. Braden Willis, Will Mallory. Another, I liked. And last name sucks. Connor Hayward from last year, I was a big fan of to kind of fill that same role of the fullback tight end. Versatility is important, and I think with the league, without kind of going away from the fullback, having that third tight end on your roster be your fullback slash tight end is a fantastic way to kind of keep him alive.
Jamel Dean in free agency. Percy's asking.
Go ahead, Malik. Tackle this one. I saw this one this morning.
I mean, from your lips to God's ears, that would be great. I love Jamel Dean, but it ain't happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mark's asking, do the Bengals have a plan to replace Tyler Boyd this offseason via free agency or the draft?
No.
Not even the draft. Not replace entirely. Draft his successor, let's say. Do you see them drafting a guy in round 3 or 4? Maybe can do a little punt return stuff and then can play in the slot for him.
I can see them drafting a guy, but I don't know if it has any correlation on Tyler Boyd right now.
Right. I don't think immediate future.
I'm going to tell you right now. I think the tight end that they grab will have more of a replacement impact on Tyler Boyd than a receiver that they grab. I think it's very hard to just replace Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, 100%. All respect to Tyler Boyd.
But you can get those snaps from the slot from a tight end like Michael Mayer.
Trent Irwin.
Trent, baby. Trent Irwin might be the tight end of the slot receiver of the future. What did I tell you guys after the Patriots game? I told you guys. I said, Trent Irwin might be tight end. Might be a slot receiver of the future. People laugh. But, I mean, I think Joe Burrow's taking a page out of Tom Brady's book.
I got a couple. We got a couple rapid fire ones for you guys. Thoughts on Cleveland Farrell in free agency?
I could see him becoming a Bengal. He loves Marion Hobby. Hobby loves him. That makes a lot of sense.
Javon Hargrave.
No.
Marcus Peters.
No.
Don't think so, no.
It'd be fun.
That'd be wild in this locker room.
Oh, dude.
He would be crazy in this.
He would be unhinged.
He has to. If we get Marcus Peters somehow, Eli Apple has to also come back. Just the rules.
Ryan's asking David Njoku.
No.
Bobby McCain. No. He said he was coached by Lou Anarumo.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
filler.
It could be a veteran safety you bring in for $2 million.
They do play like a little bit of dime look sometimes, but I don't know. That's maybe you bring in a veteran safety that is a little bit familiar with him to kind of shore that up a little bit in case something goes wrong. But
who do you guys say real quickly is the most overhyped draft prospect in this year's draft?
Oh,
that's a tough one.
Or somebody that's getting a lot of love that you guys feel isn't.
Darnell Washington for me. I think Darnell Washington is overhyped.
I think this is a very poor receiver class, to be honest with you guys. I think receivers we've seen these last couple of drafts just be phenomenal. And, I think everybody wants every receiver class to be so good. But I don't really see it with it. I mean, nobody tested very well. That was supposed to. It's just, I don't know. I don't really see too many future access, just true wide receiver ones in this draft class.
If Kalijah Cansey is really getting top 10 look, I would say him.
Right.
I mean, guys,
that's exactly what I was gonna
I
say.
know there's the obvious Pitt defensive tackle connection, but Aaron Donald was stronger, bigger, and has longer arms, so they're not identical at all. They're just crazy good athletes, still a good prospect,
and had better hand placement.
They just went there.
But if we're assuming he gets drafted in about the 15-25 range, okay, I'll live with that, and I'll say maybe DeJuan Jones just because of the boomer bust nature.
Yeah.
Tyler's asking about Amani Aruwariye. Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, he had a good year two years ago with Detroit. But
does he want to start?
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know how the cornerback room's going to play. We don't know how they feel about Cheeto in his long term. We obviously CTB's pretty much locked in, at that across CB2. Mike Hilton's in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have room for starters.
You're not
I think
getting
he'd
a
be
lot of
great, but
snaps.
like, would he
Right.
want to come here, like you said?
Right.
Maybe not.
James Bradbury.
I don't see it. No, we got to set our.
The
Well,
Lou-
what are you doing over there?
Well, the Lou-
Are you
the
expecting
Giants.
him as one of those 1 year?
I'm just saying. I'm gonna
I don't-
just say this to y'all.
Wasn't the
If
Eagles his
people
1 year?
aren't getting the money, he's gonna cash in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't
Just,
expect him to be the Bengals.
I just don't want to. I don't want to just say no to every star. I do expect a slew of 1 year deals. Though. I
Yeah.
really do.
We got Cincy Hubs asking. It says bring Juju in to test them out. here."
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Can we
not.
like put him on a plane to fly him here and then actually just like fly him somewhere
Yeah.
else just entirely? Like Montana. Sorry, Montana.
Always saying I don't see it personally, but Yannick Ngakoue a possible target.
For $9 or $10 million a year.
If he wants 1 year deal for $5 million,
I think
That's the thing. I think he's getting $9 or $10 million a year. And
Bengals
again,
gonna go-
he's
Bengals-
not going to do that for a
Bengals gonna come
backup
to the-
role.
Bengals gonna come to the table like, yo, we'll pay you $10 million a year, $5 million guaranteed. The rest of the incentives. That's what they'll do. I'm telling
they're
you.
gonna ask
They will-
everybody.
They will say, yo, we'll give you 10 million for
If
1
they
year.
can get him for a $5 million deal laden with
Guaranteed,
incentives, yes,
laden with
sure.
incentives, you have to
Sure.
hit that. Right?
I'm
I
on
mean,
board. I just don't expect that.
No, I don't expect that either.
I
but I'm
expect
just-
to add rookies behind the
Mhm.
guys that you know are going to be your
Bengals
starters.
like, you gonna take this $5 million?
You better do it.
Where's Jessie Bates playing this year? Where do you guys think?
Whoever's gonna pay him the most. I could see the
Right.
Falcons. I think I could see the Falcons.
You got to
personally.
find a team, probably like the Bears, the Falcons, with the
Mhm.
cap space to pay him
Falcons
like the
need
top
to
of
fix-
market. That's
Falcons
why the
need to fix the
whole
defense.
they need a leader.
AJ
Again, we're back to that. They need someone who can do things right and be a role model for those younger guys, and they will pay him the money to do that. And it's not going to
Agent Terrell shares the same agent, Dave Mulgeta.
Right.
Thoughts on the defensive line? Do we extend Reader or do we draft a successor this year?
The Bengals signed Reader with the. Remember when Reader signed with the
Mhm.
Bengals? People were like, "What? Like what? He's an ascending player, but we don't know how great he is."
Yeah.
They signed him with this Reader in mind. What they're seeing right here, I think Reader is the Bengals want to keep Reader in Cincinnati for his future.
I think they like him a lot. And I
He's a
think
blue
also
chip,
his
yeah.
position is not one that lends itself to needing tremendous athleticism like usual. So you're not going to see necessarily that decline that you might from more athletic positions
age
like
better.
the edge. And I think also he's a talented player and also kind of plays that nose tackle role where
Mhm.
one, it's going to be cheaper, and two, it's just easier on what it's asking you to do
Right.
necessarily.
And he was one of those first people to literally publicly say he came here because of Joe Burrow, and that was as a rookie. And I think Joe's gotten a
God,
little
I
bit
love
better
DJ
since
Reader.
then.
Just a little bit.
But before we get to some of these other, Michael's saying, Logan, he loves your Bengals swag. He says,
Always got the good
yeah,
Bengals
right?
swag
So,
on, man.
Logan, where do you get your stuff at?
Just the internet, man. Just scroll through it, looking at everywhere you can find
Timmy
it.
Turner over here.
I mean,
Internet.
just anywhere, bro. I mean,
People notice the
eBay,
swag.
Poshmark, just anything,
Pe-
anything.
People peep the swag. But Malik, what do you feel about Brandon Allen? Do you think the Bengals keep him around?
I think the Bengals are going to try to look to upgrade the backup quarterback's position. I mean, Brandon Allen I expect him to be here potentially when the preseason starts.
Right.
But I think the Bengals are going to try to look
Get
to
that
upgrade-
standard
yeah.
typical
Underrated
veteran type
need.
guy.
You don't ever want to plan for a backup quarterback, God
No.
forbid. But situation comes, Joe gets a concussion, misses a week. You want to be able to win a game. And I don't know
Right.
if Brandon Allen can do that.
All right.
You guys are like, you guys make our night. Not going to lie.
Yeah.
You guys have made our night. We have went live for over an hour.
Thank you.
We
Thank you for
appreciate
being
you
with
guys.
us.
We wouldn't rather be doing this, with a better fan base and just talking ball with you guys. But we got to cut it a little short. And the reason why we got to cut it short is because next week we are going live every single day for 5 days straight. And we'll be talking all things NFL free agency and Bengals free agency. I'll be discussing all the latest rumblings that I'm hearing, things to expect. You guys can expect a lot from me. You guys can expect a lot from Evan. We'll see if Lolo wants to join us. I think he might. We'll see. But yeah, we'll be going live 5 days straight. If you guys could do us a huge favor, just subscribe to the YouTube channel and turn on the post notifications so you guys do not miss when we go live. I cannot wait for free agency. This is where I absolutely just love to.
This is
to-
where he thrives.
This is where I thrive, right? So, but no, in all seriousness, I really do expect a very exciting offseason for the Cincinnati Bengals fan base and this Bengals brass. I think like I said, I expect them to try to maximize this Super Bowl window. Give this video a like. We're trying to get to 100, as Daniel just posted up there. But we're trying to get to the next level for our YouTube channel. If you guys could do us a huge favor, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers. If you guys can, subscribe to the YouTube channel, we greatly appreciate it. And Colts Nation, man, it was great talking with you, brother, too, man. He said you guys keep grinding, popped on the feet, man. Hopefully you subscribe, man. We do a couple of shows, man. We do the sit down Malik Wright. We have a betting show, the whole 9 yards tomorrow. Friday we'll be going live doing our betting show. So if you guys want to win some money, for sure. Somebody said I'll tweet you some gear, Logan. I'm probably competing with you bidding on eBay for that's swag.
Ooh,
but yeah, 5 days of Malik. Hopefully you guys don't get tired of seeing my face. But until next time, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, give this video a like. We'll see you next week at the start of free agency, and I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend. Thank you.
Malik Wright, a ball